I'm JC Polanco, and I'm the new CEO of CLEO Inc. I am so excited to be part of this incredible team. We're focused daily on diversifying the legal profession, focused on shaping and forming the next group of attorneys. So you'll soon hear from our own CLEO students. They'll tell you what CLEO has meant to them, how CLEO has helped them, and how really we have been laser focused on their road to law school. Now, diversifying the legal profession is tough, and we're going to move live next year to many of our programs, which is why it's so important that you consider donating to CLEO. Every single dollar counts, and it'll help us a great deal. Thank you so much, and listen to these amazing stories from these incredibly bright students. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Garcia. I am a 2L at Penn State Dickinson School of Law, and I am part of the 2020 PLSI CLEO class. I am forever grateful to CLEO. I learned invaluable skills that I will carry on throughout my law school career and beyond. One of the things I'm appreciative of is the fact that without CLEO, I would likely not be here at Penn State Dickinson Law, a school that has given me so much support, so much opportunities, and I would have not been here without CLEO. CLEO really demonstrated their commitment to helping students like myself who were having a hard time navigating law school, and I learned so much from CLEO, and I'm very appreciative of it. So thank you, CLEO, and congratulations, everybody.
Hi, my name is Rosavita Viri Cruz. I'm a first-year law student at the University of San Francisco School of Law. After completing CLEO's 6-week pre-law summer institute this past year, I'm proud to say that I'm also a CLEO fellow. I applied to CLEO's pre-law summer institute after randomly browsing through the internet and reading about diversity pipeline programs. Starting off my law school career with CLEO as the foundation, in the midst of the chaos of the first few weeks of law school, I found myself with a surprising command of the tasks before me. Equipped with a support system of my former CLEO classmates and a functional understanding of the basics. CLEO has given me the foundation that I need not only to survive my first year of law school, but to thrive in it.
Hi everyone, my name is Carice Duru. I'm a 3L or a third-year law student at Vermont Law School. I was a part of the 2019 CLEO cohort, and I'm beyond grateful for the opportunity to have been a part of CLEO. And still part of CLEO. I believe that CLEO is a constant support system and definitely equips students with the tools to succeed. I came to law school prepared and ready and super confident that I belong in this space. I wasn't surprised by anything because of the head start that I received the summer prior to my first semester here. And the support didn't stop after my first year. Even in my third year, I still feel just as supported as I was when I first started. Currently, I am interested in criminal litigation and hoping to be a trial attorney of some sort upon graduation.
Hello, future attorneys. I am so excited to talk to you guys about CLEO and all of the amazing opportunities that CLEO has to offer for future attorneys like yourself. I came to CLEO first gen. I knew nothing about the law school admission process, and after several of CLEO's sponsored events with law schools and different attorneys, I was able to gain a lot of tools to help me in my application process. One of the biggest things that I would encourage everyone to do when deciding on where to seek resources for law school admission help, any kind of information regarding law school, is stop at CLEO and utilize their tools, because they have a comprehensive program that gets everything out all in one time so that you're not questioning your decisions, questioning the process. There are always people there to respond to your questions and get accurate feedback about the admission process. There is no other company or any other engagement process that has been as helpful and mentoring into this process as CLEO has. One last piece of advice is take it all in the first time, because none of the information that they're giving you is invaluable, and every single piece will be critical in your law school success journey. Thank you for taking the time and consider CLEO.
My name is Alan. I use the CLEO Law School application services. The written materials can be really complicated, yet they're so important as part of your application. Your personal statement, diversity statements, or any addendums will help you to tell your powerful story, and class helped me to do just that. The advisors provided a lot of assistance and insight in the application process. I would highly recommend this service to anybody who is applying for law school.
Similarly, even now we have a very successful program called AIE, Attitude is Essential.
And that started also out of CLEO while I was still in law school. So Attitude is Essential was one of the programs that came out of it in order to be able to reach out to more students all around the country that couldn't do the 6-week program.
That's right. And it's been very successful since, a lot of the input that your class and successive classes gave to CLEO were taken to heart. We developed some incredible programs in addition to that flagship pre-law summer institute that is so popular with the alumni because of all the reasons you mentioned. Listen, Bernarda, any last words you want to tell to our prospective students and CLEO participants?
I would say, and what I want people to know and potential students to know, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to believe in yourself, be patient, give yourself patience, but also know that you can overcome any obstacle that's put before you. As long as you are strong-minded and you are determined, you can make it happen.
Talk to me, how did you find out about this wonderful program in the Council on Legal Education Opportunity? I know that you are one of our most successful CLEO alum, and I want our students and I want our viewers to hear about how you got involved, what motivated you to be part of CLEO, how did CLEO impacted you, and share your CLEO story with us.
Yes, so I was actually involved with ETS College Bound, and so they the federal program that gave me tons of access to college and information. So when I was at the University of Utah for undergrad, I joined the pre-law program eventually, and Dr. Engar and a lot of other people talked to me about this program that is called CLEO. And I just didn't know what it was. So I went to the website and I saw all this history and amazing opportunities, workshops and events, and then this summer program. And that's how I got involved.
And where did you end up doing your CLEO summer program, the PLSI, the Pre-Law Summer Institute, which, by the way, for viewers who aren't familiar with it, it's the nationally renowned program that really brings folks from all over the country, from backgrounds like the lieutenants, and brings them all together. And for 6 weeks, pre-COVID, we're going to go back live this year coming up. Students from all over the country get together and they work on some amazing things. Tell us about it, Lieutenant.
Yeah, so I ended up being selected for the one at Georgia State University in Atlanta. So big city, a lot of people, like you said, from around the world. And that was in the summer of 2013.
For the first day, there are 3,200 marchers in line.
Not many women are coming into law school. Few, if any, blacks and people of color generally. There just aren't opportunities.
James H. Meredith is formally enrolled at the University of Mississippi.
law had for so long been used against minorities, without a realization of how much it could have been used for minorities.
President Johnson names Thurgood Marshall to replace Justice Tom Clark on the Supreme Court.
And CLEO fit in this way. It advanced the agenda.
I certainly don't think that CLEO was ahead of its time. I think CLEO was right on time. I wanted to have a useful skill for the movement because I wanted to participate in making the South what it should be.
In 1968, CLEO convinced several law schools to consider more than LSAT scores when they looked at applicants, like the idealistic young man who would become a congressman.
My purpose for going to law school was to try to have a tool to utilize to make my region of the country, the South, better in terms of equal opportunity and racial justice. My LSAT scores would not have allowed me to gain admission to Emory or Harvard or Yale. At the time, there were numerous allegations that the law school admissions test was not an accurate predictor of success in law school for African Americans. CLEO was an experiment to see whether or not, in fact, there were other factors that were just as good predictors as the LSAT.
Compelling, inspiring, teaching. Since 1968, CLEO has been helping underrepresented students succeed in law school and beyond.
Isn't that wonderful? I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. My name is JC Polanco. I'm the new CEO of CLEO, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you this evening to celebrate some incredible trailblazers in our community. But before we do, I think it's very important for us to acknowledge those that have helped us make our 4th annual CLEO Edge Honors Reception and Awards program a reality. As we gather here tonight, I want us to keep in mind that we have some incredible sponsors and benefactors. The list of 14 I'm about to individually name contributed mightily to tonight's event. We would like to sincerely thank them, as well as our event benefactors, who are listed on the back of our program booklet for their kind generosity. They understand how important CLEO is as a mean to diversify the legal profession. CLEO hopes that it could continue counting on your support because you know that we really need your support moving forward as we pursue our mission to create a more diverse and equitable and inclusive legal profession. Before I begin, if anyone in the room tonight is here on behalf of one of our event sponsors, please kindly raise your hand. I'd really appreciate it. First and foremost, our host, Greenberg Traurig, just wow. Just wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for providing us with this beautiful event space, amazing catering. What a great tech team streaming this online as we speak. The in-house event planning team is just incredible. Stacy, Amani, Trang, just incredible. Next, we'd like to thank the benefactors at the $10,000 level. We really appreciate your support, Aiken Gump, Google LLC, and Wambo Bond Dickinson. At the $5,000 level, we have the Association of Corporate Counsel Foundation, Access Lex Institute, the Geico Philanthropic Foundation, HMS Host, and of course, the Lincoln Financial Group. Thank you so much. And at the next level, we have the University of Connecticut School of Law, Goulston and Storrs, Mayer and Brown, Ogletree Deacons, and Shook, Hardy, and Bacon. We also want to thank the event committee for CLEO, and of course, as I mentioned, the Greenberg Traurig team, and Misha Mace of Norwest Design for the incredible graphics, and of course, our advisory council member, an amazing GT attorney, Samantha. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really need your attention in the back. So if you could just hear me out for a few minutes, I won't take too much of your time. I'm very happy that you're here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, especially those of you watching online, but you chose to spend your most valuable resource, your time, with us. And it means the world to us for you to be here with us to award these phenomenal people. We have a civil rights icon, and she knows how I feel about her. Attorney Sherilyn Ifill is here tonight. We're awarding New York Attorney General Tish James. We have Dean Jose Bajomedes Gonzalez, and of course, attorneys Robinson Hayden and Jean Lee. These incredible change agents have been remarkable in their career. You're going to hear about them a little more tonight. But as I mentioned a few minutes ago when I was trying to get you to quiet down, I'm JC Polanco, and I'm new here. I'm really excited to have gotten the support of the incredible members of the board of directors to serve as the new CEO of CLEO. This truly is a dream come true, serving in this capacity with an all-star team. We have Vice President Leigh Allen, who served as interim CEO during the toughest times in our organization. We have educators like Bernarda Hayes. Bernarda Hayes is here, and she's going to be retiring soon. We're going to miss her dearly. We have attorney Linda Ceballos leading our pre-law programs. So happy that she's here with us tonight. We have, of course, Monica Heigl, who runs our important CLICS National Mentorship Program. Julie Long, who heads our finance and administration. It's very important that you understand also that because your resources matter a great deal, we have a new team member named Iris Juergens, who is Director of Development and Grants. You know, in my short time as CEO, I started in July. It's been a whirlwind. I've traveled the country meeting some phenomenal people, and I hear incredible stories about how CLEO has changed their lives. One individual is here tonight, and he has really made an impact in my life. And his name is General Ron Sullivan. General Ron Sullivan is here tonight. He's just an incredible American, an American hero. He's an HBCU grad who went through CLEO, went to law school. Today, he's now serving as general in the U.S. Army, chief judge of the Criminal Court of Appeals for the Army. And guess what? Not only did he do the CLEO program, but he came back the next year and met his lovely wife. So not only are we a legal connection, but we are also a love connection. I also want to thank our chairwoman, Elizabeth Campbell, for her incredible work. Thank you. You know, I have so much to say, but we're running low on time. And you guys showed up late, some of you, so it's not my fault. But I just want to say one thing before I leave, before I introduce our wonderful congressman and have his support here. Real quick, I want to make sure you know that we have all the money we need. We have all the money we need here at CLEO to change the legal profession and truly diversify the legal profession. We do. The only problem is that money is currently in your checking accounts, in your foundations, in your business checking accounts. But if you want to help us truly do this, please consider donating tonight. If you're watching online, it's cleoinc.org. Look for the donate button and please show us your support. Every dollar counts as we try to change the world and make things happen. Now, without any further ado, I know I'm getting get off the stage, Polanco. I have so much else I want to say. But Diana Blackman, would you please come up?
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much.
Hi all, and thank you and welcome to GT. So Congressman Jamie Raskin is the U.S. representative for Maryland's 8th Congressional District. And my colleague, Rob Mangus, told me that he won the last time with 68%. He won his election by almost 80%. No one ever does that. I just want to give you a little background about him. He served as the lead House manager in the second Senate impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump, which ended with a 57-43 vote to convict the president for inciting a violent insurrection against the government to overthrow the 2020 presidential election. He serves on the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. He's serving his third term on the House Judiciary Oversight and Administration Committees, and is serving his second term on the Rules Committee. That's the traffic cop for the Congress. Prior to Congress, he was a three-term state senator in Maryland and a professor of constitutional law for more than a quarter of a century at AU, American University, Washington College of Law. He's a magna cum laude graduate of Harvard College and Harvard Law School, where he served as an editor of the Harvard Law Review. He has authored several books, including We the Students, and he just let me know that it was banned in Texas by the Texas legislature, and then it was banned by Putin in Russia. So I'll round of applause for that guy. And then also the Washington Post bestseller, Overruling Democracy, the Supreme Court versus the American People, and the New York Times #1 bestseller, Unthinkable, Trauma, Truth, and Trials of American Democracy. And please go out and buy the book. The congressman is a leader committed to civil rights, justice, and education. CLEO's purpose and vision is that the U.S. legal profession would be diverse, equitable, and inclusive, effectively balancing the scales of liberty and social justice for all. What a great match. So tonight we'll hear a little bit about showing up every day and fighting for everything good. And despite the overwhelming challenges he faces for democracy, diversity, human rights, and so much more. But most important, he's such a kind and decent human being, who I'm proud to say is my congressman. So Congressman Jamie Raskin, we're honored to have you.
Well, hello, everybody. I guarantee you my speech will be shorter than that introduction. And I always tell them I need no introduction, and then my staff sends them a 35-page CV. And but I'm psyched to be here with everybody because I love CLEO. I was a law professor for 25 years, so I know CLEO well. And I might even, I don't know, I have some former law students here from AU's Washington College of Law. Anybody out there? Oh, we got one. There we go. All right. I'm gonna have to call on you. Do I have a seating chart? And I got any constituents here from Maryland's beautiful 8th District? Yeah. So yes, we do. We got a few. All right. And I understand Sherilyn Eifel's getting an award tonight. I don't know if she's out there, but hi, Sherilyn. Congratulations on your award. How awesome is that? That's so terrific. Well, look, CLEO is nonpartisan, multipartisan. I'm not. So I'm a partisan. I'm laying my cards on the table. So I thought I would just start my very brief remarks on a bipartisan note. By invoking our last great Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, who spoke of the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we, of course, didn't start out anything like that in our country. We were a slave republic of white male property owners over the age of 21. But it has been through legal and political and moral and social and historical struggle that we have opened America up to become a more perfect union and to come much closer to realizing Lincoln's tantalizing ideal of what democracy really should be. And the law for most of our history has been an instrument of oppression, but we also know that law can be an instrument of liberation and equality. And CLEO is so much part of that struggle today to make law an instrument of positive change and liberation and inclusion for all of our people. So I'm very proud of what you guys are doing to integrate and diversify and equalize the legal profession, not just in theory, not just in rhetoric, but in reality, in practice, in law schools, in cities and towns and states all over the country that really need the services of lawyers devoted to the common good. So anyway, I'll leave you with the words of a great non-lawyer and a great Marylander, Frederick Douglass, who was born about an hour away at the Wye River Plantation into slavery, who escaped from slavery to become our great freedom fighter and leader through the Civil War and Reconstruction. And Douglass said this, he said, if there's no struggle, there's no progress. And the struggle may be moral, it may be physical, it may be moral and physical, but there must be struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. So keep those words in mind from a great Marylander, and best of luck, and thank you, CLEO, for everything you guys are doing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fidel Stefanos, and I'm speaking on behalf of CLEO's Pre-Law Summer Institute class of 2021. I'm currently a 2L student at Howard University School of Law. CLEO's Pre-Law Summer Institute was a transformative experience that set me on a trajectory towards excellence. We get exposure and firsthand experience with substantive areas of the law that I was completely unfamiliar with before ever entering a law school classroom, gave me a competitive advantage in more ways than one. Although the benefits were innumerable, I think they can be distilled into two simple maxims. First, mastering the law takes discipline. And second, the law is not an abstract set of rules or postulates, but it's a critical window into our social mores. CLEO introduced me to the concept that law school is a job and to treat it as such, to invest in my classmates and help cultivate a learning environment where everyone feels nurtured and to respect the process. CLEO prepared me to embrace the mantra of Charles Hamilton Houston, the former dean of my law school, who once said that a lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite. I just want to enthusiastically thank CLEO for investing in my education and providing me with the keys to success. I'm honored to say that without CLEO, I would not have been able to secure summer employment, a position on my university's law review, and become a member of the Howard Law Civil Rights Clinic, which is to me the greatest honor I've had to date. I'll leave you with this. Vernon Jordan's name adorns the wall of my law school library. He's a graduate of the Howard Law class in 1960. I can think of no greater individuals to celebrate and elevate his legacy than the Honorable Tish James, another exemplary graduate of Howard Law, and the great Miss Sherilyn Eiffel for their tireless work of ensuring that justice conforms to its principles. Thank you.
You all, I'm smiling from ear to ear, and I see all of your faces, and those of you who are joining us via video, I hope you are proud as well. I am Brandy Smith. I am a proud CLEO alum of the 6-week Summer Institute from 2008. I am Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Legal Counsel at Lincoln Financial Group. I've been there for 10 years, and I am here to provide my testimony around how CLEO has truly impacted my life. I'll keep it brief, but we could talk about this for hours, right? One thing that Fidel did not share with you is that he and I have a similar story. Going to law school took our families generations forward. And I'm sure many of you in this room have had that same experience. And so when I ask you to leave this room with one thing in mind, whether you are a CLEO alum, a CLEO friend, a CLEO sister, when someone asks you about how do I start this law school journey, 4 letters, CLEO, CLEO. It's simple. They can Google it if they truly want to start that journey. But it takes the weight off of you and it puts it back on CLEO, an organization that has held true since 1968. So thank you for joining us today and continue to impact the future of the legal profession. Thank you.
Hi, folks. I'm Rob Falk. I'm a proud CLEO board member. One story, one door. Here's the story I want to share with you from one of our students who was mentored over the summer. And these are not my words, these are hers. Thank you for everything. Thank you for keeping me calm, taking all my frantic calls, encouraging me that I am capable of minimal competency and beyond, and keeping everything in perspective. I said this in my CLEO post-bar interview, in my interview with my school, and to anyone who asked me about bar prep, but you made a world of difference. Just knowing I had someone to go to that had been through the process and was willing to let me vent or work through my problems was a huge weight off my shoulders and helped me feel like I wasn't in the bar prep journey alone. That woman was the law student of the year of Southampton's Road Bar Association and was part of the inaugural class of the Civil Rights Law Institute of Virginia. That woman not only walked through a door, she banged right through it. And I want to talk right now about the power in this room, because there are people out there who are looking for that door. There are people out there who do not know that door exists. And there are people out there who think that door is shut for people who look like them or who come from communities like them. And CLEO knows that that is not true. We as a group of people are door openers. And as my good friend JC just said this evening, we have all the money we need and it's in the room. And so I am a proud door opener. I want to create opportunity for people. And I want to make it for people who don't necessarily look like me, because I know, and just as this woman knows, she said to me, I may not be the smartest person in the room, but I will work harder than anybody else. And if we don't create opportunity for people like that, we are missing an opportunity for us. So tonight, I want everybody in this room to commit to be a door opener. I want you to get involved in CLEO. I want you to mentor. I want you to open up your pocketbooks. I want you to go out in the world and let anybody who is in high school, who is in college, who is in law school, know that we are out there and we are ready to serve them, because we know we can create opportunity by opening doors. Thank you. Find me afterwards.
Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change this world. Good evening. I'm Linda Ceballos. I'm the Director of Pre-Law Educational Activities at CLEO, and I've been at CLEO for 15 plus years. I am moved and honored to present the Education Award posthumously to my dear colleague, Jose Bahamonde Gonzalez. Whether serving as a dean at law schools or at a law firm, senior diversity, equity, and inclusion manager, Jose was a staunch leader and supporter of education for more than 20 years. Many of you gathered here and those streaming online have felt and witnessed his fervent passion and kind spirit. Like CLEO, he knew the significance of cultivating and supporting legal education. His accomplishments and recognitions are broad and diverse. Therefore, his full bio can be found on our CLEO website. On behalf of many law students and attorneys who have benefited from his passion and leadership, please join Gerald Popko, Jose's dear and loving spouse, in recognizing Jose Bahamonde Gonzalez, CLEO's 2022 Edge Award honoree for education.
Thank you, Linda. You know, I had prepared some notes, and I'm just going to disregard those. I just want to say that, you know, it's been 6 months since Jose died, and when we met 27 years ago, I could never have imagined standing here tonight, accepting an award under these circumstances for him on his behalf. Anyone that had the pleasure of knowing him at all knew how much he loved people. And Above all, he loved his students, and he worked so hard for them and strived and counseled them and mentored them. And when they achieved, he was the most happy. He had a saying that he told me all the time: "Don't tell me that you love me, show me." And he lived by those words. You know, he showed us every day how much he loved us. And he showed that to his students. And the work that he did wasn't just because it was his job. It's just because who he was to the core. He loved his students, and it's who he was, and it's what made him happy. And actually, I've been told more than once, he was the only person in the world that actually enjoyed graduation. He looked forward to it. He looked forward to it, and he got excited to pull out his robe again and put it on and be head of the procession going down the street from one venue to another, carrying the flag. And he was just a very loving man. And I wish he could be here tonight and see how he's being honored. But he came home, it was Friday, May 13th. He had been working in DC, came to our home in Baltimore. And when he was working on a presentation, and when he was unpacking his briefcase, he turned to me and he said, "Gerald, I am working so hard, but I am so happy." He said, "I am so respected. I feel respected and appreciated for the work that I'm doing." And that being respected is the most important thing in his life. And knowing that he died feeling that way, that at a high point in his life, made all the difference to me, knowing that, you know, as hard as it is that he's gone, knowing that he died happy professionally means everything to me. So I just want to thank CLEO and the board for honoring him tonight in this way. And I wish he could be there. He would be overwhelmed, and just, if you knew him, just full of joy, and as I am myself. So thank you so much.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Butler Jones. I'm a counselor at Aiken, Gumstrauss, Howard, and Feld here in Washington, D.C. Soon to be a partner effective January 1st. Thank you, Tony. Tony always keeps us honest. Just down the street here. And, you know, how many of you are familiar with the book, Building a House for Diversity? It sort of sets the tone for this award, but it's a book about a giraffe that built a house and was living in a house that was designed for its tall, slender frame. But that giraffe invited over an elephant, and as you can imagine, the elephant was disruptive. It demolished the house down to the foundation. Well, the giraffe realized that anytime you design a house that's built for a giraffe, it's going to be difficult to welcome an elephant. And it's about commitment to diversity and a commitment to building a house that can diversify and welcome people of all shapes, sizes, and colors. And I think when we think about commitment to diversity, you know, one person in particular that comes to mind is our honoree this evening. As a CLEO alum of the 6-week Summer Institute in 2011, I was, of course, excited to be here, but especially excited to present this award to Lori, our friend, our colleague, and our trailblazer, because she has been the architect, not only for me, but I know many others in this room, of so many moments of rejuvenation, which is very much needed in this profession as a woman of color. For over 20 years, Lori has been dedicated to diversity in our profession. She's an accomplished attorney and has built, as founder and CEO, a wonderful network of over 5,000 attorneys of women and men now, more recently, who are primarily at Fortune 1000 companies. Has anyone here ever attended one of the corporate council women of color? Then, yes. Then you know that what a powerful influence Lori is, what an inspiring event that is, and how good the raffle prizes are. It's a secret, it's a secret. Like CLEO, Lori knows how critical it is to be committed to diversity, to cultivate those environments that are welcoming to all, The list of her awards and accolades are simply too long to really itemize this evening. You can see her bio on the CLEO website, and I invite you to watch her interview with history makers, because that's exactly what she's been doing, making history and making a path for people in our profession. So on behalf of the many attorneys who have benefited from your leadership and been inspired by what you've done for diversity in our legal profession, please everyone join me in congratulating Ms. Lori Robinson.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I am so honored to be before you. I want to thank CLEO, the CLEO board. Thank you, Amanda. Congratulations to my fellow Alden Rees, Sherilyn, who I had the pleasure of working with when I was on the board of the Legal Defense Fund with her leadership. Jean, she and I have been in the journey of fighting for diversity and inclusion. And Tish, I have not had the opportunity to work with her yet or meet her, but I hope to do that soon. My mom is here, Frances P. Robinson. Can I recognize my mom? My mom has been my hope and my inspiration when I was a young lawyer, thinking about being a lawyer. I didn't really know how to go about the process, but someone told me about CLEO. Mom, do you remember that? I had just graduated, and I remember I was walking up and down the street where the CLEO office, where it was, and I said, I have to get into CLEO. I have to get into CLEO because they're going to teach me about the law before I go to law school. And Mom, do you remember when I was out beating the pavement trying to connect with CLEO? And I would just say, you know, when we think about everything that's happening in our world, in our profession, there are still barriers that lawyers of color face. We have that recent Supreme Court decision. And, you know, I know in my heart that with organizations like CLEO, with your financial support of CLEO, it doesn't matter what law they pass, because we will provide the support through the organization to give the people the tools that they need to succeed. When I started Corporate Counsel Women of Color, as I like to say, in the kitchen of my Harlem apartment, before Facebook and before LinkedIn, it was back in the old days when you had to hit the streets and pound the pavement to meet people. And many women of color lawyers in the law, they were dealing with barriers in the workplace, feeling isolated, dealing with microaggressions. And we just needed a safe space to come together, to support one another. And I feel so proud because my mom would always tell me, she would always tell me, Lori, God called you to do this work. He is tired of women of color leaving the profession. And I want you to keep focused on the mission. So I'll tell you, I've been doing CCWC for 20 years. I've literally done something related to CCWC for 20 years, every single day, except when I had my baby. But I may have checked the email in that delivery room. But I am so committed to CCWC and the mission, because when I look out and see our members, they look like you. They are diverse, they have hopes, they have dreams. And many of us in the early days of our careers, we didn't know what to do. Many of the lawyers are first generation lawyers. They might not have anyone at home to talk to give them career advice, but we all came together and gave each other career advice. And now our members from the early days are rising to the level of chief legal officer, from Denny's to McDonald's to Coca-Cola. I can just name all the companies. But I would just say thank you for all of your support. Continue to support CLEO because our work is just starting. Thank you again for having me before you.
Congratulations again to Lori and to all of our honorees. Hello, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Campbell. I am proud to be the chair of CLEO. Welcome tonight. Thank you. Thank you. There's no award for me. This is my reward. It is my privilege to introduce this evening's Greater Equality honoree, the incomparable Miss Jean Lee. Jean, oh, please. Jean is the president and CEO of the Minority Corporate Counsel Association, better known as MCCA, the preeminent advisor on diversity, equity, and inclusion to C-suites across corporate America. As an immigrant woman of color with a background in social work and corporate law, the professional has always been personal for Jean. She now champions system-level change, create greater opportunities for those who, like her, are building careers despite the challenges of the status quo. Under Jean's leadership, MCCA established the first ever comprehensive law firm diversity scorecard, measuring quantitative and qualitative data. Her other accomplishments and recognitions are in her bio on the CLEO website. So without further ado, everyone here and those watching at home, please join me in congratulating Miss Jean Lee on being CLEO's 2022 Edge Award winner for greater equality.
So thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. Thank you to JC, Bernetta, Hayes. You and I have worked on the CLEO pipeline program, the Pre-Law Summer Institute for many years, and I'm so thrilled to see so many of our graduates here tonight. And I'm honored to be here with folks like Sherilyn Eiffel, Lori Robinson, Hayden, as well as many others. You know, Lori talked a little bit about having a hope and dream, and I want to tell you a little bit about the hope and dream that gave me an opportunity here. And I was watching the video earlier today about kind of the civil rights movement. Well, in 1965, without the Immigration and Naturalization Act, I wouldn't be here. My family had an opportunity to be here because people like Sherilyn were fighting for us, Thurgood Marshall and many others back in those days, to give people like me an opportunity. And that was the first opportunity for me to have a dream. Because for those of you who know about the Chinese Exclusion Act, Asian Americans were not allowed in this country for almost 80 plus 90 years until those who fought for rights of people like us and gave us that opportunity. So that was the first hope and why I'm so committed to equality in this country, but more importantly, equity, because that's where we're at today. And you also saw, and I won't go into all of it because it's depressing, but you also saw that affirmative action is on the table. It will be gone. And frankly, you know what, when people talked about that, I was a bit concerned, but we can do better. Because people here in this room, it doesn't have to be Sherilyn Eiffel, Lori Robinson, Hayden, and many other people who have done the work before us. Each of us have an opportunity to make a difference. You know how you can do that? You can start within your own firm, within your own organizations, no matter where you are. Think about the systemic barriers, because that's what CLEO does. It removes a systemic barrier. The number one thing being financial, hence, those of us with a checkbook or a Venmo account, make sure you donate today because that's one of the big barriers to achieving more equity. That's the financial barrier. We talked a little bit about how it's important to get that opportunity, to get the education. Well, it costs money. And we also have heard about the student loan debt crisis, et cetera, and how it disproportionately affects Black students. I won't go into all of that either, but you can read about that. So if you really care about transformation and because you're concerned about how affirmative action is going to be impacted with the Supreme Court, the way it's going, you know what you can do? You can start with systemic change. What are the barriers? What are the barriers that will help you create more opportunities for people who look like me, people who look like yourselves, and others? Because it doesn't have to be immediate now, but when you make that change, those in future generations will benefit, just like I was not born in 1965, but I got to benefit from that law because people before me, Thurgood Marshall, so many others fought for that opportunity for people like me to have an opportunity to succeed, to be in front of you in this room. People like me are not supposed to be here. I grew up in a very, very difficult and challenging background, unlike many Asian Americans who may have excelled and went to prestigious schools. I had 3 jobs to support my education. I didn't even have money to pay for law school application fees. I actually had to file for financial aid to get a waiver so I can apply to law school. But I was able to succeed because people like you, people like Lori, people like Sherilyn, so many of you in this room who believe in opportunities and equity for people who look like me. So I encourage all of you to donate, use your Venmo account, PayPal. There are many ways to do it, as JC said, and really think about the future and open doors for opportunity within your own firms, within your own corporations. So thank you for having me, and thank you for recognizing me this evening. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love these speeches. Can I tell you, it's so motivating and inspirational. The next award, the next award that we'd like to give today is the one of the awardees tonight is New York State Attorney General Tish James. Letitia James is the 67th Attorney General for the state of New York. She has long decades of work. She's an experienced attorney, public servant with a long record of accomplishments. And she is the very first woman of color to hold the statewide office in New York and the first woman to ever be elected Attorney General. How exciting is that? Now, Tish James was, in fact, the first African-American woman elected citywide when she was elected public advocate in New York City. She worked tirelessly to make sure that government agencies were working correctly and fought for the most vulnerable communities. She transformed the public advocate's office to this incredible agent for change. Now, something very interesting about Tish is that Tish goes up against the big dogs, and she does so fearlessly. She's made an incredible name for herself across the country by standing up for what's right and by letting a lot of my students know, especially those of us that come from communities like the one that I come from in the Bronx, that you can do it. And you too can be the first Attorney General in New York that is a woman of color. And she's an inspiration to all of us. I wish she was here tonight, but she sent us a video. And I would like for us to go ahead and play that video from Attorney General James.
Hello, and thank you so much for this wonderful recognition. I'm honored and humbled to be named the 2022 CLEO Edge Vernon E. Jordan Jr. Heritage Award recipient. Thank you to the members and staff of CLEO for all the work that you have done over the past 54 years and continue to do to ensure that students from marginalized community achieve their dreams of being attorneys. You help young people and their families achieve lifelong ambitions and contribute to a more productive and equitable society. And equally as important, especially for current and future attorneys of color, your efforts help build more trust and credibility in our legal system. A legal system, quite frankly, that has been unfair, unjust, and oftentimes cruel for far too long when dealing with people of color and the poor. So I am deeply honored to be a recipient of this Vernon E. Jordan Heritage Award and in the excellent company of other recipients, such as Deval Patrick, Stacey Abrams, and of course, Mr. Jordan himself, after whom you renamed this award. As many of you know, I'm a proud graduate of Howard University School of Law, as was this legendary civil rights attorney and fighter for social and racial justice. Mr. Jordan was also a lifetime trustee, and his name now adorns the historic Howard University Law Library for a good reason. People like Mr. Jordan and other distinguished Howard Law graduates, like the late Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, his unwavering commitment to justice and equality inspired me and many others to become warriors in the ongoing battle for social, racial, and economic justice. Like many of you young, aspiring attorneys in the audience today, we felt called to the legal profession because we wanted to effectuate change and saw the impact, like Mr. Jordan had, on moving our society forward. Indeed, no other occupation in America supplies a more significant proportion of leaders doing just that other than the legal profession. And with those examples in mind, I was very intentional about pursuing a career in public interest law. From my early days as a public defender to serving as an attorney in the New York State Legislature, to running the Brooklyn Regional Office of the New York State Attorney General's Office, to serving as a member of the New York City Council and as public advocate for the city of New York, my goal has always been to improve the world, to make it a fairer and more inclusive place. And that is what I try to do daily as the Attorney General of the great state of New York, without fear or favor, no matter what the issue or the person is. I am proud to say that the people of New York recently re-elected me to another term, and in doing so have spoken loudly and clearly about their commitment to fairness and equity and justice too. Finally, as a veteran attorney, a woman of color, and a proud graduate of an HBCU, you will find few things more valuable in your journey to a productive legal career than networking and gaining mentors. CLEO's leaders understand this, which is why it is such a crucial organization for bringing young, aspiring lawyers of color together with veteran attorneys who can offer direction and inspiration. Thank you, CLEO, for your service, and I hope I have provided similar inspiration to all of you, and I hope to see you here soon in New York. Thank you so much. I truly am humbled and honored.
That was great. Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Vicki Jordan Adams, and my father is Vernon Jordan. I'm very pleased to be here tonight, and I'm thrilled to be here in person. I understand we're simulcasting in a hybrid environment, so I've had the opportunity to participate in that way, but it's really lovely to be able to meet everyone person face to face, and to thank everyone at CLEO for engaging me and my family in your work. With that, I have to add a bit of a commercial. My son, Jordan Monroe Adams, is a CLEO Summer Institute graduate. He is also a young associate at Aiken Gump in New York. So I expect Tony will one day shout at him, but you're a partner now. Anyway, so I just want to really speak a bit extemporaneously, but follow the script and let you all know how really delighted we are that CLEO has doubly blessed us, not only by awarding my father the CLEO Edge Award years ago, but also then naming the award for him. I think it's just very special. I can tell you, since I was a young girl, he always wanted to advance young people, young African-American people, young mixed race people, young people in their professions, whatever it was it law, politics, business? I remember as a little girl, lots of young people coming over, students, to help with voter education and sitting around and arguing about constitutional law. And rather than becoming a lawyer myself, I chose the other loquacious industry, public relations. So the thing about CLEO that I think is especially wonderful is that it embodies many of the characteristics that my dad really stood for: a commitment to equal justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, and as it succinctly states in their tagline, training tomorrow's lawyers, preparing tomorrow's leaders. In March, it will be 2 years since my dad passed. I hear from everyone how much they miss him, how much they miss his voice, his presence, seeing him walk through the halls, seeing him showing up at different events. And if you all miss him that much, you can only imagine how much our family misses all of those things and more. But the best part about having an award like this named after him and handed and presented to this year's awardees, Attorney General Letitia James and the wonderful Sherilyn Ifill, is that these women embody what this whole organization is about, as well as the other honorees tonight. But you really do embody everything that liberty, justice for all stands for. And I hope that this award and this organization will continue that legacy for as long as possible. We should all write our checks. We'll keep doing our part as the Jordan family. And I'd like to close by thanking the CLEO board, the advisory council, and the reception committee for inviting me to join you here tonight. And congratulations once again to all the awardees.
Thank you so much.
For those
those wonderful statements. Wow, this is a big one. Lane. Whoa. I'm not dropping this one. Don't drop that. Well, this next award is our Vernon E. Jordan Heritage Award. And CLEO would like to award this to attorney, civil rights icon, Sherilyn Ifill. Please come up. Now, as all of you know, Sherilyn Ifill is an icon. She's an icon for all of us. She's a trailblazer. She's just an incredible human being who's breaking down barriers daily. Her bio is extensive, and it'll probably take me till 10 to get through it, and I don't have enough food. But I want to share with you that she recently stepped down after 10 years in the leadership as president and director counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, the nation's premier civil rights law organization fighting for racial justice and equality. And she currently serves as senior fellow at the Ford Foundation. Now, Ifill began her career as a fellow at the American Civil Liberties Union before joining the staff of the LDF as an assistant counsel in 1988, where she litigated voting rights cases throughout the South, including the landmark case Houston Lawyers Association v. Texas, in which the Supreme Court held that judicial elections are covered by the provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Boy, listen to that. Wow. In 1993, Ifill left the LDF to join the faculty at the University of Maryland, right here. She joined the School of Law in Baltimore, and after 20 years, Ifill taught civil procedure and constitutional law to thousands of law students and pioneered a series of law clinics, including environmental justice, as well as reparations theory, and a practice clinic, and one of the earliest law clinics in the country. She's just a phenomenal human being, and I'm so honored to be here with you. On behalf of CLEO, the Board of Directors and Advisory Council, we would like to award you the CLEO Edge Vernon Jordan Heritage Award. Thank you very much.
Will be sent.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful, wonderful honor. And I really just want to thank JC just for your energy and your determination to have me come this year. And I just couldn't resist the kind of energy and enthusiasm that you brought to the invitation. And of course, you know, the CLEO is so well known to those of us who have been around this profession for such a long time. You are truly an institution. So I need to do some shout outs, and then I'll just say a few words. First of all, I want to really thank Vicki Jordan Adams for those wonderful remarks about this Vernon Jordan Award. It is anything associated with Vernon Jordan's name, by just the very name, has a certain standard and means something very significant. Mr. Jordan was, you know, our icon at LDF. You know, we called him Uncle Vernon because he was our fairy godfather, right? We would go to him for counsel, and he would explain to us how to navigate difficult situations as civil rights lawyers, as Black lawyers, because of his vast experience across this profession in the civil rights space. Leading the Urban League, and of course at Aiken Gump as a consigliere to the powerful and the influential. He understood how the world worked, and so when you talked with him, you felt you were getting and knew you were getting good information. Lastly, I want to say about Vernon that, you know, you all are talking about networking. Vernon put the N in networking. He knew how he was a connector. He knew how to connect people, and he understood the importance of it, of making sure that you understood who was in the room and who you should be connected with. If Vernon invited you to breakfast, this was the ticket. Most people want to be invited to dinner. The breakfast is the best. Vernon would take you to breakfast, maybe at the Four Seasons here in DC, or at the Regency in New York, and people would just flock to him. But he would use that opportunity to make sure that people knew who you were as a Black lawyer. People would be standing there. These would be the, you know, ambassadors and cabinet members And they clearly wanted to move on, but Vernon would say, no, you don't understand. Well, do you know what the Legal Defense Fund is? Do you know who she is? Do you know what she does? Do you understand the history of this organization? That was the man he was. And so his connection to CLEO seems so perfect and so important to understand how we have to be connected with one another in order to advance. So thank you so much, Vicki, for those beautiful remarks. I also want to just acknowledge, so many people in this audience who are connected with my journey as a lawyer. My daughter, Najma, is here, and I'm so thrilled that she could join me. She was a little baby crawling around on the floor when I was first a young lawyer at LDF. And so when we were talking, Abigail, about being an attorney with young children and that challenge, I understand it well. And that's something else we need to share with one another and mentor one another about, because it's not always easy, but it can be done. And I thank my daughter Najma for all of the ways she put up with my my crazy schedule. So I'm glad she's here. And all my colleagues at University of Maryland Law School, I see used to be Associate Dean Diane Hoffman. I don't know what her title is now, but at least Professor Diane Hoffman, and Renee Hutchins was here earlier. She is now the Dean at University of Maryland Law School, and my former student, and now is at the Department of Education, Monique Dixon, who also, there she is, was the Director of Policy at the Legal Defense Fund for quite some time as well, and so many people associated with the law school. But first and foremost, of course, the late Jose Bahamonde Gonzalez. I'm sorry, Dana is here as well, also, one of our great folks at University of Maryland. And I do want to just acknowledge Jose Bahamonde Gonzalez. Hard to find the words to describe what an extraordinary person he was, what a loving person he was, and how much what CLEO is about is what he was about. He was about the advancement of lawyers of color. And he was committed to it. He wore it in a way that seemed casual, but he was deadly serious about it. He was a problem solver. He understood how to get us through systems. He was just absolutely extraordinary and gone from us much too soon. But I'm so grateful to be receiving this award tonight when he's being acknowledged. And what Gerald said about him being respected is so important. Sometimes when you're larger than life, as Jose was, and you're gregarious, what matters most to you is that people can see how serious you are, what matters to you, what your skills are. And it's important that Jose knows that we saw him in that way. So I'm so thrilled that he received this award. And I have to acknowledge Lori Robinson Hayden, who, as she said, yes, was on the board of the LDF and has herself become such a powerhouse with her extraordinary Corporate Council Women of Color conference, where the swag is out of this world. And so it's just thrilling to see her here. And of course, Jean Lee, who reminded me that we had in fact met. I loved your words. Where are you? I don't know where she went. She probably left, but there you are. Thank you so much for your words, which were so important and so powerful. So what is diversity? I mean, I've heard it said many times, and I don't have a clue what it means. I don't have a clue what it means. And, it seems to me whatever anybody wants it to mean. Your parents don't send kids to school to feel good. They send them to school to learn chemistry or whatever. So obviously those are the words of Justice Clarence Thomas at the oral argument in the UNC and Harvard affirmative action cases on October 31st. And I understand why many of you might have not listened to the full 6-hour marathon. I did, but I encourage you to certainly listen to at least parts of the argument, because it's really powerful and important. I very rarely repeat the words that Clarence Thomas has said, but I did tonight because even when he asked the question, I knew that he knew that the question itself was one that he well knows the answer to. It was impossible to imagine that a man who grew up in Pinpoint, Georgia, who was selected along with 11 other young Black men by a white priest to mentor and send to Holy Cross High School, who got into Yale Law School during the height of affirmative action, who couldn't find a job after law school, but found the patronage of Senator John Danforth, who took him under his wing and got him jobs at Monsanto and Perino or wherever he was, and who later, despite having no civil rights background whatsoever, became the chair of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission when he was named to that position by President Reagan. The day he was introduced as the nominee to the Supreme Court, George H.W. Bush described him as the most qualified lawyer in the country for that job. So I knew that he knew that the question was really a false question. And it was meant to belittle the very concept of diversity. And I can understand it because I sometimes am impatient with the way in which diversity is used and deployed to cover everything. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I deal with racism, both structural racism and individual racism, but principally structural racism. And that's not about diversity. That's about racism. And I like to call things what they are. And so I also get impatient with the use of this term to cover anything that has to do with racial justice. And so I understood on one hand, the asking of the question, but I actually think rather than scoff at the question, it's important for us to give the answer. And I was thrilled that the Solicitor General, Elizabeth Freeloger, I was thrilled that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson herself, I was thrilled that Justice Kagan provided the answer at the argument. Now, we don't need to ask that question here, but I want to suggest that the entire conversation about diversity, particularly in our profession, has more powerful resonance at this moment than perhaps we give it credit for. I think it's wonderful for every part of the profession to have lawyers of color, for us to move up the ladder, for us to be in positions of influence and leadership. I think that's absolutely critical and important, and I'm behind it 100%. One of the things I'm proudest of at LDF was creating a scholarship program, the Marshall Motley Scholars Program, for lawyers who want to live and work in the South. And we will pay your whole way for law school. So after you've done all your pre-law training with CLEO, make sure you apply to the Marshall Motley Scholars Program and share it with your families and go online. But you have to want to be a civil rights lawyer working for racial justice, and you have to make a commitment to doing that work in the South. So this means a great deal to me. But I actually think the conversation that we ought to be having about diversity at this moment is about the relationship of diversity to this moment that we're facing and confronting in American democracy. It is beyond ironic that at the precise moment when this country is unraveling, when we are seeing the rise of extremism, anti-Semitism, anti-Asian violence, good old-fashioned anti-Black racism, when we are seeing hate groups invited into polite company, when we're seeing people storm the Capitol because they don't accept the outcome of the election, when we've just passed the term of a president who was explicitly white supremacist, when we're at this moment in which our democracy is really at the cliff's edge. We didn't go over, but we're still at the edge, right? And I'm hearing people say democracy won, this at the election, and as I said at Howard last week, there's a difference between democracy and Democrats. I like Democrats too, but it's not the same thing as democracy. Democracy is a lot more complicated than who wins one election. And we are in a perilous moment in this country. And we're in a perilous moment because we have failed to tend to the foundational cracks in our democracy. And one of them is about white supremacy and racism, and how often we have tried to shunt it to the side and believe that the project of addressing this and confronting it head on was completed. We know that it is not completed. And if you haven't been able to understand that after the last 10 years, I don't know what to say. I say 10 years because I don't want to pretend that Trump ushered this in. The Shelby County versus Holder decision was in 2013, long before Trump was president. The Texas voter ID law that the federal court found was intentionally designed to discriminate against Black and Latino voters in Texas was passed in 2014, as was the omnibus North Carolina voter suppression law. The videos that you saw that maybe sometimes wake you up at night of Black men being killed, murdered by white police officers, of Walter Scott running in that park, of Freddie Gray being put in that van, of Alton Sterling, of Eric Garner, and on and on and on, was well before Trump was elected. George Floyd may have been in 2020, but that was not the beginning. And to pretend that the use of violence by the state with impunity is not part of the apparatus of anti-democratic action is a mistake. I'm a voting rights lawyer, have been for a long time, so obviously I believe voting is paramount, but it is not the only thing. When we see school boards being taken over by people who will decide what books can and can't be read, as you heard from Representative Raskin earlier, we're in trouble. And the finest moments in this country have been given to us by some of the finest people who were legally trained. Lawyers hold an outsized role, whether it's Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi. Lawyers are given this position, and the rule of law is critical to any healthy democracy. So our profession has to itself be invigorated and reflect that which we hope to stand for, which are lawyers in a democratic system. And so the reason for diversity in our profession is because the exclusion tells us once again how unhealthy our democracy is. When Thurgood Marshall was challenging segregation at the University of Oklahoma Law School in 1949, in the Sipawell case, the day of the hearing when he arrived at the courthouse and argued with his client by his side, Ada Sipawell, at the end of the day, as they were packing up their things, Marshall said to Ada Sipawell, well, tomorrow I'll keep litigating the case and you bring the bologna sandwiches. And he said that to her because they had not actually planned for the fact that they could not eat in the courthouse. That's the profession that we come from, and we should never forget that there is a journey to us being in this room, at this law firm, in this office, and at this high floor, having taken whatever transportation we took to get here, sitting wherever we wanted to sit, having eaten wherever we wanted to eat, and so on and so forth. We can never forget that. And so what we're trying to accomplish is something that is critical, mission critical to the health of American democracy. You don't have to be a civil rights lawyer 24/7, although we welcome you, but you do have to believe that democracy is part of your portfolio, no matter what area of law you practice in or seek to practice in. And so I was thrilled to receive this award today with the name of Vernon Jordan, because that's what he stood for. And because I wanted to exhort you to think even more highly about who we are at this moment in this country and about the role that we must play. We are not just lawyers in any old profession. We stand for the rule of law. There is no healthy democracy in this world where the rule of law doesn't exist. So we have a noble task that we have to uphold. And we need everyone from all of our communities to be on that same laboring oar. And so I'm grateful to CLEO for the extraordinary work that you're doing. I'm so grateful that there's a refuge and a place for law students to get information and support. I never met a lawyer before I went to law school. The first lawyer I met was my civil procedure professor that first day. And it means so much that we now have created an infrastructure that is there to support young people to enter this profession. But when you support them, remind them of what it means to take that oath. I'm a nerd about that stuff. I take it very seriously of who we are. It's why there's certain things you can't say in the courtroom or say even in public. It's why you can't make certain kinds of claims that you know have no basis in fact, regardless of what you've seen the last 3 years and the kind of litigation we have seen in the public. There is a way you conduct yourself. There are things that you stand for. Don't find yourself standing before a judge arguing that migrants can be separated from their parents or don't need toothbrushes. Remember what you stand for. And however you're doing your work in this profession, and as you mentor those who come behind you, make sure that you understand and they understand how central we are to the saving and hopefully the strengthening of American democracy. So thank you all very, very much.
So I don't know whose idea it was to put me after Cheryl and Eichel, but they're absolutely fired. So I had some prepared marks, but I'm, gonna skip them because after that, those are the words that I think we all need to leave with. So thank you. I felt like that was extremely powerful and moving. So thank you. So I want to thank everybody for coming. It's been awesome. It's been great. Thank you for everybody who put in time, CLEO staff, my GT team who's awesome, and here late, and the board and the advisory board. So thank you. There's lots of food and there's drinks. So please enjoy, and we will see you next year. All right. Thank you.